Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review. Alright, so today will be a special video. We're going to jump into the time machine and travel back a whole 18 years to the year 2007 as we take a look at this Marvel Legends, Cable and Marvel Girl. Alright, so this wonderful 2-pack featuring 2 of the X-Men's most prominent characters was at the time a Walmart exclusive. As you can see, we have Nathan Summers and Jean Grey right here. We have Jean in her, it's kind of a weird mix between her Phoenix costume and her Marvel Girl outfit. I believe this is the artwork of Alan Davis. And over here we have Cable in his kind of like late 90s, early 2000s costume. Wonderful looking action figures. Very large box for whatever reason. On the back of the box, some nice cool images of the action figures. They even give us our stats. Cable stands in at 6 foot 8 inches, weighs in at 350 pounds. Wow, that's a lot. His real name is Nathan Christopher Charles Summers. His identity is a secret. His alias, Nathan Dayspring, the Ascani son. He's affiliated with the X-Men. Powers: Infonet link simulates telepathy, teleportation, and limited invulnerability. Jean Grey, also known as Marvel Girl, stands in at 5'7", 125 pounds. Her real name is Jean Grey Summers. Semi-public identity, also known as the Phoenix, affiliated with the X-Men, and she's a powerful telepath and telekinesis. Over here, we have a nice, long bio on both of the characters. They kind of talk about how Jean kind of raised Nathan in an alternate reality. If you're a comic book reader, you'll remember that miniseries from like the mid-90s of Cyclops and I think it's called Cyclops and Phoenix. And in the story, they're kind of whisked away to that alternate future. And then they run into the mother Ascani, who I believe is Rachel Summers, and the Ascani clan. And then they kind of raise up young Nathan Summers in that alternate reality. So, you know, if you want, hunt those books down or just read this. And let's take a look at these figures. So the seal on this was already broken, so I'm assuming the previous owner probably already took these out, I think. Or maybe not. Okay, so this maybe isn't opened. All right, so the one seal is broken, but the ones on the side are not. So maybe this is actually new in box. Possibly. Let's take this out. Yeah, so this box is ginormous. You know, the figures are relatively small, but the box is huge. Okay, let's get these out. All right, so Cable's Cable's weapons are kind of floating around in the box. Man, this box is overkill. Alright, so it looks like these figures have never been taken out before because they still were kind of tied down to the tray, but the plastic ties kind of disintegrated over time, which is wild. Let's remove the little fragments of plastic. Okay, so we have Nathan Summers, aka Cable, and we have Marvel Girl herself, Jean Grey. Alright, so keep in mind, even though these are Hasbro Marvel Legends figures and not Toy Biz, these are very old. These are from 18 years ago, so they're definitely going to feel very dated. And the posability is kind of weird too. She's like leaning on one leg. I can't seem to fix that. Yeah, I don't know what's up with this. Man, this really shows the older like Marvel Legends has come such a long way, produced by Hasbro, and you can kind of really see the leaps and bounds they've done over the last almost 20 years. All right, so let's take a look at Cable first, because I think that's the one people are going to be really interested in. Again, much older designed and styled action figure, and all these plastic ties, they're like stuck to the figure and they're like disintegrated. It's kind of weird. Let's get you back into focus. All right, there you go. All right, so this figure stands in at about 6.5 inches. It feels like it's designed by like the older Toy Biz designers, just because the sculpting feels very Toy Biz. You know, Toy Biz Marvel Legends figures, they were always crazy detailed. You know, a lot of vein work and vascularity in the muscles. You know, everything just felt like hyper detailed, like we see with his cybernetic arm. You know, it's just insanely detailed. A lot of wrinkles in the uniform. He even has the giant oversized holster for his weapons. It's kind of reminiscent of that Bishop figure that Toy Biz made in the Marvel Legends line. And his flesh tone, it's very pale. And he's kind of like, has neck problems. His neck's kind of arched forward. Really weird looking figure. It does not age very well. I mean, I do appreciate it because it really embodies that design sensibility from the late 90s and early 2000s, but it just feels like a mess of different parts from other figures mashed together. Like the hands seem too big. You know, the proportions seem very off. Again, it feels like a Toy Biz figure, not necessarily a Hasbro one. And the joints are kind of loose, kind of flops around a little. But I do appreciate this action figure. I am glad I have it, don't get me wrong. One of my favorite Toy Biz Cable figures is actually the Marvel Legends Cable belonging to I think it's called Legendary Riders. And he kind of came with a weird like hover bike vehicle. And that version of Cable is really cool because if you're a fan of the video game Marvel vs. Capcom 2, it's pretty much that costume. Yeah, 2007, stamped on his butt, Hasbro. Very dated figure. You know, he has the cybernetic eye. I apologize if he's very pale. You know, he doesn't really come off that well on my camera. His head swivels, looks down a lot, looks up. Articulated arms, double pinned elbows, articulated wrists and fingers. His fingers are articulated. If you're a collector of, I think it was a Fortnite line by Jazzwares and Wicked Cool Toys, those figures featured articulated fingers as well. This one's kind of stuck. I'm not going to force it. It's an older figure. I don't want to accidentally break it. But yeah, this figure definitely shows its age. Here's his accessories, and I think these are weapons we still might get in the Marvel Legends line. I think. I might be wrong, though. And again, you can see the plastic ties are kind of like melted and disintegrating at the same time. They're just like completely deteriorating. And then you could plug them into the holster. This is very weird. It's a weird soft plastic. But you kind of get the point. So it kind of goes in. Trying to get it in all the way. Let's see if do these straps open? I don't know if these straps open or not. I don't want to risk it because it's like I said, this is a very old figure and everything seems like to be disintegrating. And I don't want to accidentally rip the holster, although I do want to get, there you go, it's in place. Yeah, so it fits snug into the holster, but it's just kind of unsightly, and the figure does not want to focus at all. And I have all these plastic ties that are just falling off of the figure. I apologize, this figure does not want to focus with my camera. It's very off balanced. Does this work better? Alright, let's just see if this is working out. This video is coming out terrible. I apologize for the quality. And yeah, he does not want to focus on my camera. The whatever color they use on the flesh tone, it's this really coming off very bright on my camera, and my camera can't focus on it correctly. But this gives you an idea of the figure. Again, it's very dated. For a size comparison, here he is next to a modern Marvel Legends figure. You know, we have Vulcan over here. Yeah, this figure is like a vampire. It does not like to be video or photographed. It's very odd. Here it is next to Wolverine. Wolverine kind of brings it a little bit more into focus. Yeah, so that's much better. And let's move on to the Jean Grey. This is her in her very Marvel girl outfit. I have a hard time pronouncing Marvel and girl next to each other. For whatever reason, I'm like tongue-tied, so I can't say my L's properly. This is a very late 90s, early 2000s inspired costume. If you're a fan of the X-Men comic books, there was a run of Uncanny X-Men in the early 2000s. Artist Alan Davis came back, and he was working with writer Chris Claremont. And this is very similar to the costume that was being used during the early 2000s. Very archaic design. You can see here the articulation. It's very dated, and much like the Cable figure, this figure does not want to be videotaped either. The colors just don't agree with my camera. There we go. So very I don't want to say poor design. I mean, this was what was, going on in the early 2000s, but next to a modern figure, it's very poor in its design. The articulation isn't that well thought out either. Like, her legs don't properly kick up. If you want to kick them up, they kind of like twist. I do wish Hasbro would revisit this figure or this character and give it a much more modern treatment. And here it is next to a very modern Jean Grey figure. Just so you can see how much the technology and engineering has evolved over the last 20 years. So yeah, it's an interesting set. I bought this out of nostalgia. For one, I'm a fan of that era of comic books for the X-Men. And I'm also just very fond of the older Toy Biz style figures, which these, even though they're produced by Hasbro, they still kind of feel like the Toy Biz figures. And they're just wacky. They're wacky figures. They look weird, but, I just have a special place in my heart for the older 90s and 2000s action figures. All right, so with that being said, all right, I got to apologize. The video quality was horrible, but if you stuck through this entire thing, thank you. So wrapping this up, once again, my name is Lou. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support. I greatly appreciate it. So until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, buy lots of toys, and most importantly, be happy. And I'll see you at the next one. All right, later.